All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning, TRADEPRO room. Good morning, YouTube. Hope you're all doing well. Today, we had some news here pre-market. Everyone was on the jobs front, right? Everyone was looking at those jobs numbers that came out. And this was, it was an interesting report after a short week coming into this. It could have, right, been a larger dilemma, another dilemma to add to the table for the Federal Reserve if the U.S. labor market surprises with some extreme figures for March. Now, yesterday, right, a lot of this downside momentum, a lot of people are attributing to Fed's Kashkari, the other Fed speakers that came out into the end of the day. I think that's only a piece of this puzzle, realistically. A lot of positioning has been to the downside since the beginning of the week, and I think that a lot of people are using that as an excuse for what had happened with the Fed and the Fed speak. What happened with the Fed? They're talking about decreasing the chance of rate cuts, which they're kind of pinning on inflation pressure. Realistically, they don't want to act too fast, especially with oil creeping up very aggressively, making new highs of year, and continuing that up step, expecting more climb in oil realistically, which would put some inflation pressures back in the market, resulting in pull downs in equity markets realistically. So a lot of people are attributing, trying to connect those dots and putting that forth. But remember, higher for longer, we've been sustaining this upside momentum with the anticipation that the rate cuts would diminish throughout the year, which has been putting upside pressure in the market, considering that in these high rate environments, there's no necessary need for these cuts. So a lot of people were trying to piece everything together, but realistically, we have to understand that this is positioning. Could have the Fed propelled this downside a little more? Yeah, sure. Was I expecting a massive dump like this? No, not at all. Did I catch the whole thing? No, not at all. It's absurd. But today, right, with the jobs numbers and how this could all relate into the next move is what's important for us. A lot of people were frustrated that they might have missed the whole move down, that they might have faded trying to buy, catch this knife, and got destroyed. The thing is, right, these are difficult moves to catch. I've gone over this in our room on social media of how you can look to play this, right, by understanding how this auction works. But the day's over. You didn't catch yesterday's 100-point mover. What's done is done. Let's move on to today's opportunity. There's no need in trying to run into this. These days usually destroy people, right? So if you didn't get absolutely nuked yesterday, then honestly pat yourself on the back. You got 10 points, you got 5 points, you got 3 points. In relation to being down 100, you're doing very well. So take that and look at the opportunity to end the week here. It's Friday. We got the non-farm payrolls job report that came out. Let's digest that, look at what the market's doing, and try to analyze a bit more as to what the opportunities look like today. So if we take a look at how this thing played out, where's this shit? As we look at how this played out pre-market here, I'm trying to find the figure. So, non-farm payrolls. What are these figures here? What am I looking? Am I looking at the right thing here? Sorry for the confusion. I'm trying to find it. So first of all, the U.S. Economy gained 212,000 jobs last month, down from the 275 level seen in February. The consensus would exceed the 191,000 average in the 5 months leading up to the pandemic, but it's also less than the average monthly gain of 230,000 over the prior 12 weeks. So the central policymakers are generally looking for a Goldilocks scenario where the conditions are neither too hot, neither too cold, but have just the right temperature. As long as the payrolls stay moderate around 200,000, the unemployment rate remains around 3 to 4%, and the wage growth continues to moderate, everything should be on track for a soft landing. However, recent things have been coupled with sticky inflation, like I just mentioned, and a strong growth in the gross domestic product, resulting in caution and a cautionary stance for these cuts by the Fed. Now, the figure, if I'm not mistaken, right, I'm going to have to double check this because this number doesn't look right to me. Sorry for this delay. I thought I had it handy, but so the non-farm change 212 expected. The added was 303, so a little more aggressive to the upside. Prior revised 270. I think the unemployment rate 3.8 versus 3.9, and then the average hourly earnings in line with expectation at 0.3%. So this figure I think was too big of a beat for this market, which initially exhibited some downside before propping back up, but kind of failing to continue some of this momentum, something that I'm going to be very interested in as we get closer to this market open. On Wednesday, Fed Chair Powell came on the wire. He reiterated that he doesn't expect that this will be an appropriate time to lower our policy rate until the central bank is confident that the inflation is able to be sustained in a path of 2%. Note that the FOMC is guiding for 3 rate cuts later this year, according to March's median projection. And if I remember this correctly, by the end of last year it was 6 or 7, right? Don't quote me on this. I haven't done my full due diligence, but I think 7 rate cuts were expected at the end of last year for this year. Now drastically has dropped, cut in half. There are some quick hesitations about how quickly the cuts will come to fruition, as we saw Kashkari spoke yesterday, and also Loretta Mester and Goolsbee, who also gave speeches in the massive headline day yesterday, where it seemed like every Fed speaker got their chance. So as this market kind of holds out here, right, some of this bidding into these lows at the bottom band of this distribution, you can see yesterday this 5-minute chart on the SPY just did the downside until we hit this like 512 area. The S&P on the futures front here, we held into that low 5190, which was one of our main constitutes to see this market sustain some kind of a bid, which came from the regions that were down here. As you can see, very heavy volume from March 19th, which was a consensus to see some buyers step into this market. So it's the bottom band of a larger distribution, so I do like to see some of this long side shape up, and it would be very fruitful on a Friday if we can just close this thing even a bit higher than where we landed from yesterday's lows to kind of clean up some of this auction, take some of this buy side back into this market, and rejecting the bears. This is generally a scenario trying to play for the bear trap that might be set by these players, but still, if we close this week under 52.48, honestly, there is more expected downside to come. As I see this right now, we would want to hold that 51.93 to 97 area, and as long as we can hold above this 08.10, I think that allows for some of this bullish pressure to set up for the start of the week. But for me, we're still in a massive turn that happened to the downside yesterday, and it does get very bearish if we start breaking under that 51.90. I think that we accept into distributions lower, and I don't mind putting the risk onto play to see if we can get some of that press to the upside off of that drastic drop that could be somewhat of a bear trap that set up yesterday. So as we look at this, that's generally how I want to play the day, right? I'll talk about if this, throughout the morning session, I'll talk about if this actually manifests into something that pulls markets a little lower, and how that would look. I don't necessarily see this market turning down 10-20%, as a lot of people are like, or this is the beginning of the next big drop, right? It's one red day, just keep that in mind. So I'll be looking into some opportunities for swings to the upside, also some kind of long-term dip buying opportunities and what that looks like. Commodities. We should talk about this quickly here, because it's one of the things that's putting some pressure on inflation and the Fed's general notion into the into the rate decision and monetary policy. So as we know, cocoa, gold, oil, right, has we saw Brent crude top $90 a barrel for the first time since October, as tensions in the Middle East threaten to boil over and a wider regional war to shape up. It follows reports that the Israeli embassies have also been placed on a high alert amid growing threats of attacks on Iran, while the White House has threatened policy changes with respect to Gaza. Crude oil has found some support from tightening supplies as a sign of strong U.S. fuel demand, raising the odds of a surge in gas price ahead of a busy summer driving season. So as commodities look for the upside, as commodities build up, it puts pressure on inflation as well, which is kind of just flipping just completely opposite from the equity market. I do think that commodities still have a lot of upside. I think commodities are likely to continue a bid realistically, gold is extremely overextended. I'm not trying to short this, don't call me crazy, but I think that pullbacks on precious metals and other commodities, um, it can be bought, right? USO is the United States Oil Fund, UCO, the leverage product, doing very well over the last few weeks here. And I've been screaming about energy and commodities over the past bit. So let's see how this day shapes up, right? I am leaning a bit bullish to start the session here to see if we can kind of hike up some of this upside momentum. I still have one left, right? It's very close to being just taken out here. You can see on this S&P 500. Um, and that's okay, right? I'll look to see if any buyers step in again. But it was a great move in the pre-market on the overnight session as well, trying to buy some of these dips to see if we can get that expansionary move to the upside. So as I see this, I'm going to be a little more trying to look for some of these longs, right? I'm not going to be stupid about it, meaning that I'm not like, as this thing just keeps knifing down, I'm not just going to buy it. Like if yesterday shapes up from a structural perspective, let me move this camera so I can see some of these figures a little better. From a structural perspective, if we keep dropping on this market, right, and we start accepting under that like 51.90, we accept into a distribution lower, which theoretically has a 70-point drop, and that, like, I'm not discounting the opportunity and the possibility of that, but the way that this is shaping up, some of these bids that came in on the overnight, it would be good to kind of trap some of these late shorts in and kind of nuke them and get a what's it called, an expansion move to clean up some of this auction to the upside. So let's see how we can do with today's stream and find some of this opportunity. Like I said, I'm leaning on the bull side to start this, and we'll put on Mr. Bucks. He'll talk about oil for us this good morning. Morning, Steven. How you doing? Just buying dips, you know me. Same as yesterday. Let me just increase the volume so I can hear you a bit better. Sorry, what was that?
I said same as every day.
Same as every day. When I see this market drop more than 1%, it's time to buy.
Your eyes are buy. Are you recording?
I am now.
Recording in progress.
We've got YouTube with us today, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, good morning, TRADEPRO Academy, Victoria, Barbara, all of TPA, YouTube, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day today. Um, so all market is up this morning. Opened over $1 higher than we opened yesterday. You can see the pivots down here at 86.25. VWAP is above. R1's already all the way up at 87.84, so we're a ways away from that. We caught her open this morning in the 86.90s, and it's basically flat. So it's fairly straightforward. There's no trend on at the moment. It's just sideways. Your eyes can tell you that, right? So it's pretty easy today. Um, get a break of this opening range high of 86.90. Get up above the $87 level and retrace. You can get long with the thought that it'll run up, back towards R1. And with the VWAP being where it is, that would be your low side break. So if we're going to get short, we're going to break the VWAP to the downside, and then on the retrace, get short with an idea that we run down here to the derivative and maybe the pivot. So at this moment, we're just waiting to see what the market's going to do. So we'll watch and trade it, let you know what's up. Back to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Bucks. Let's identify here what we got cooking. So with the S&P, like I was saying, today I am leaning a bit long. I'm going to talk about, like, throughout the session, I'm going to talk also about opportunities, like where I see this market kind of headed over the next few weeks with in regards to swing and potential long-term stuff. I think when we get a day like yesterday and markets pull back that aggressively, people start thinking, right? There, you either enter into a fear mode where I think newer people to markets obviously wouldn't have too much of an understanding of what's going on, but they're like, oh shit, like this is the start of something very big, or you understand that where we are in current market cycles and the current monetary policy, that this is probably not going to drop 20%, and the opportunity to look for some kind of bounce and upside momentum in the coming weeks is still there, right? I still think that there's a stronger upside target by the end of the year on the SPY itself. So I'll talk a bit more about that, but in terms of these equity markets here with the S&P and the Nasdaq, first with the S&P, yesterday, right? Yesterday, one of the best things that I did was sell that 5306. Right, this is what I was mentioning in the afternoon in Discord, risking about 4 points, if not more, depending on where you got in, with the stops above 10. Now, I didn't catch the whole move, right? I didn't catch the 100-point sweep, but good enough. And as we entered into the downside, right, this was my main kind of thing into the afternoon, to stop you from buying these constant dips, because everyone sees this large downside move, and a lot of people go into, okay, it's got to bounce, because you're conditioned to seeing what had transpired over the last few sessions, last few weeks, in regards to just aggressive rebids off of some key levels, and you're like, okay, let me buy this dip because I don't want to miss this V bounce, right? And what happens in that scenario is you get knifed through. So we accepted into distributions lower under that 48 yesterday, and I was spamming chat saying that the chat just saying that don't fucking buy this, right? Like, there's nothing to buy this for. If you want to get in on it, you sell 27. 27 dropped 30 points. You sell 10. 10 dropped not 30, but like what, another 15 from there. That's what I was trying to kind of cement into yesterday. If I if I could have done anything correctly yesterday, it was to get people not to constantly buy this, and I thought that goal was achieved realistically. So it was a very I think rocky move to the downside. We found some opportunities to the short, and now how this kind of played out with the acceptance in this distribution lower, right? There were a lot of people that got trapped at 40 on the buy side, 40 into that area. So we accepted lower. Immediately you knife under 48 on the S&P, on the SPOOs here. You drop down to about 30. This is nearly a 20-point move, right? 18 whatever points, I don't know what the exact low is, but regardless, nearly 20-point move. That's a very clean acceptance of what's going on here, right? At that point, you're looking to just continuously sell rips, right? You're just looking to continuously sell these areas. You got these minor distributions, you break under, you sell them, you break under, you sell them. You're much better off being late on the short than constantly trying to buy this, right? Because if you're looking for shorts on these key distribution areas, even if you get taken out, that's your reversal, right? That's fine. I'd rather short this 4 times, be right 3, and wrong 1, than buy it 4 times, be wrong all 4. So this was the scenario of this. Now, what happens is we're trading into the bottom band of the distribution. So I was posting yesterday in the review that I had posted the video for you guys, as well as in Discord. We're at the bottom of the distribution, around 90 to 95. I'm expecting some kind of bid. I was just going to buy that area, right? It worked pretty well into the into the NFP, and then even after the NFP, I just said just buy it, right? Buy it, and it worked fairly well. We tagged into that like mid 20 area. Right now, it's getting kind of iffy. We kind of pulled back a little more than I would want price to pull back to, but Honestly, still, if we can hold around that 95 area, I still like them for the longs. I really don't want to see them back down there. It kind of just muddles things. The best scenario for the buy continuation is a rebid above this 08, 07, 10 area, and then hold that bid to continue the leg higher. That's kind of how I want to see this thing play out. If we just start dumping on this, I'm gonna flip short. It's fine. That's why we have to be malleable in these scenarios as well. It's not just like, oh, I want to buy, I want to blindly buy everything, and that's going to work. So, same thing with NASDAQ, just dump through a bunch of key levels. Bottom band of the distribution on NAS finds itself in and around this 0.50 to 0.60, right? Literally the lows of the overnight and yesterday's session. The way I see NAS is as long as we can hold above 120 area, I like the bid. I like it a bit better, honestly, above 170 to see if we can break and retest and hold that bid. Otherwise, right, target region is 220, 230. See what happens there. And anything under, honestly, we just kind of give this up. Especially you offer under 0.40. You're looking for another 40 to 60 points to the downside, in my opinion. So, very quick plan there. I lean a bit bullish, not necessarily overly stupidly bullish about this. So, whatever. Let's see how this plays out. Got a few minutes here until the open if you want to ask a few things as we get this started. I'll put Fatty on here as people keep rolling in. Bum, 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 bum. What's up, Fatty? You're muted, making tea.
What's up, Vic? How are you doing, brother?
Doing well, how you doing?
You got the tea thing now, huh?
The tea thing is never going to leave. After you started making tea and that was your excuse of going to just make tea every goddamn minute.
What's up, Vic? What's up, Boxy? How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Alright, how about you? I'm doing good. Yeah, yesterday into the afternoon I had some trades as well. You know, like it started dumping, like I wasn't there in front of the screen, but like I came back and I was trading around 42, 44, tried along, ate a quick stop, and I was like, oh, wait, there's more sell side here as like they dumped below. I looked for a pullback. I think I got like 37, something like that.
Oh,
Got a
that's
good
good.
point move, and that was it. Like I did two trades in the afternoon yesterday. I didn't realize that was news driven. And yeah, like just to echo a lot of what Vic said, like you gotta be malleable with this stuff, and at the same time, like know when to flip short. Like yesterday, I was bullish until we broke like below 44. Honestly, like once you took like bad distribution below, like I flipped on the bear side. Pre-market here, trying this OA long. I know it's like aggressive. Didn't like I was trading 96 yesterday, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna give it a second. Yeah, like now I have to buy a higher, but we shall see if that long can continue today. You have some key levels to get above. You need to see it above 10 for hope for the buyers. Otherwise, like the next big area is really 95. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna go out on a limb.
96.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that you're gonna wish you bought it pre-market. And that's how I see the day panning out. Nvidia, I think like semis. I don't know. Like I think semis can get like a little relief bounce today, but I'm watching semis very carefully, and I think that SMH has probably topped out for the current market movement. Um, so I think that there could be a little relief bounce that happens just across the board today, and then continue to sell into next week. That's kind of what I'm looking at into this market. Okay, so like to clarify with the news and what happened yesterday, I don't necessarily believe that this is 100% driven from the Fed. like positioning going into this week was a little more biased to the short side. I honestly didn't think that we would rally that aggressively. I think it was yesterday on the overnight. Uh, when the hell was that? Yeah, yesterday's overnight session. That rally kind of surprised me a bit. But the positioning to start the week was a little more bearish, right? There was more bearish activity on the flow side. So I think this might have been a combination of news and positioning. I wouldn't attribute it fully to news, though. I don't necessarily want to dive into those weeds, but let's just leave it at that. Yeah, for those asking about some market internals, I use advanced decline, I use breadth, but on a larger vision, on a larger parameter. Like if I'm looking at swings, investment, long term, shit like that. Uh, okay, again, guys, I wouldn't attribute it fully to the news. The news was that Fed was looking at inflation as something of concern again, that they were diminishing the probabilities of rate cuts, talking about they don't want to cut as aggressively, or they don't want to get trapped cutting too aggressively this year. I think on the medium, well, I don't want to say medium term. I think the medium term is generally defined from an investment standpoint. I think the short term, you have some bearishness in semiconductors.
There goes the open.
Holy offer.
Yep.
I like them to hold here into this 08, honestly, on the ES. The more this shit gets tested without us just running into that 27 on the ES, the uglier it is. Bid 08 and see if you can try and make a new push from here. Get these RTH buyers into this, just eating the stops of the shorts. Ah, fuck. My neck. I didn't add into this. I have one lot. Like, I'm along this NAS.
I didn't add either. I was looking for an as entry, but I missed it. But I do have 2 lots left of 08.
I just want to be very cautious turning this day into a shit day. But, like, you pull back away, just fucking buy it. Trading 15 now, let's see. There's a bit of like imbalanced buyers into this high. Like it requires a nice push if we're gonna see this continuation. Michael, if you don't want to buy key levels or you don't want me yelling at you, then I don't know what to tell you. I do it for your benefit. I do it for the tough love of the whole thing. Get long and just hold the rest of the day. You you got to start making some moves above these areas that they saw sellers coming in. Like there's some decent buyers around this 15, 16 that are like getting a little stuck. They go reoffer there. Obviously above 27 it would be great, but and with the Nas like 170, like they not doing a good job trying to hold this 170, or sorry, above the 170. Dude, I've been to like a few massages in Bulgaria, and like I don't know, I come out more defeated than I go in.
Why is it bad? What's wrong?
I don't know, like it's just like I feel like 50-50. It's either just like too soft or it's just like terrible. Like or maybe I'm just choosing the wrong people here, but there was this one lady that like got up on the table, like all of her got up on the table to like put her whole weight on me, and she was a big girl, and I was like, what is this? It was highly unprofessional.
Was your body loose after or no?
No, I felt like shit. It was so bad. Michael, stop being a family friendly Zoom like years ago. But like right now, I still like the longs. The only issue is Nas is like it got rejected. Yeah, might be a shot long on this Nas into this like 120 ish, 130. I'm just gonna keep buying these assets until they take me out. Like, look, this Nas is up 20 points already. Almost. I just don't like I said, around this 16, like, people were getting trapped, offers were slapping in. And Nas, I don't like the failure under this 170. So 120, 130 on Nas is like a very pivotal area to sustain this buy side if we're gonna see this as like a shallow pullback. It's a professional work environment, we could say that, right, Ab? I don't know how much of that we could say. Like I'm watching semis here closely today too because they tend to have a big lead um, on these markets. If like if the if like Nvidia starts dumping, AMD starts dumping, that's not like a very good move here. Nvidia's getting shit on. I'm gonna go around the table here, look at a bunch of these different things. Like Nas is getting beat up here. Like this is not good. Amazon's catching a bid. What else? I'm seeing some like tech names across the board catch a bid here, like I think other than Nvidia. Yes, they got stuck into that 60 and they're getting shit on right now. Solid for a little pop. I'm a little more weary about these longs right now. Let's see if there's an offer. I still want to see like 07, 08 on the ES actually hold out. It's just that Nvidia falling, tech falling. I think I might try to add into this, honestly. I've got.
Trying NAS around 10.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too. I'm gonna get a long NAS into this like 120ish or just almost market buying into it. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna fill these ES longs, but I like the idea of it. These bastards better run above this 17. Yeah, Michael. Malleability, aka keep buying dips. Let's see. NAS up 25, 27, 30. Let's go.
This is the bit. Break above 20 on ES. You break above like 160 on NAS.
NAS up 7 billion points. Not really, but the NAS like 170. You have to be very cautious about that area, along with this S&P here, like around this like 18, 16, where they kind of reoffered, got stuck last time around. There goes NAS. Come on, brick, 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 brick. I tried to add into this S&P, but that was a failed mission. But Nas is trading 170 right now from pretty much market into that 120, 175, up 55 points. It's over, up 60 points. That's over a grand a contract. S&P here too.
Where do you trail Nasdaq now, Vic? Where's your stops?
Break even.
Even?
Yeah. Like, because I don't know, man. Like, it's fairly
No,
volatile.
fair,
Like,
fair. I get it.
you could
Like,
put
you
it
wanna
like,
make reward, you gotta take big risk, and like that comes in a form of either like a decent size entry, or when you're trailing, you just give it room to move because yeah, Nasdaq moves a lot.
if you want
I
to be
can't keep
tight
track
about
of
it,
that
like
though.
under 150, 140, if you want to be the quote unquote tight about it. Like I really don't like how Nas keeps playing 170, 180 and doing this like little bullshit dance, failing to rebid above. If we rebid above this, like you got 230, 220, 240 in the bag here. Nvidia made a comeback of a lifetime here. People already taking off for the weekend.
50 some moves. Oh, 8 on S&P, and like there was a lot of rotations between 8 to 12 on Nasdaq. I was like kind of below the area that I'm looking for. I was also looking for like when used to hold, but still like that to me is like within the region.
Yeah, I saw that when I think you got a better entry on Nasdaq than me, but like they started buying it like crazy. S and P too. I filled Nasdaq. I tried to get an S and P. I was late on that, so I didn't add into it. But like Nas 170, 180. If we can actually bid through this, like we're gonna cook. Blah, blah, blah. Well done, Michael. Enjoy the weekend if you're out of here. Enjoy next week as well. I'm still holding one of these. Like it's got
Yeah,
a
Michael.
pretty big open profit right now. It's up like 19ish points. The thing is, like, I want to see if I can hold this out to actually break through these areas. I know I get a lot of shit from people that are like, "Oh, you're up several $100s on one singular trade. Why aren't you closing it out?" Well, there's only one lot left, and on the session itself, like, I have I have some profits to try and see if this wants to extend. Because like yesterday, right? What happens if you get this 40-point move? It's worth keeping one little runner after you've already secured some on this. NFP, Richard? Maybe that's another acronym for it, but yeah, we're not above those highs. You're right. This is a touch annoying, but for everyone that's wondering what's being traded on these screens, it's the S&P 500. We got Nasdaq here in the top corner as well. Futures. We got YouTube with us today. Let's see if these guys can run through this. If we bid above 27, then I'll move my stop to satisfy everyone. They failed last time around these like low 20s. Ugh. shit, 200.
Yeah. That's flat every
S&P 27, 26. You're flat?
I might be done too. Yeah, I might be done. It was like three lots, but like filled. Let me tell you, that's filled exactly.
80 points on NQ, man. You got a
Feels.
better entry than me.
I filled like 10, 12.
Whew,
Yeah,
90
yeah.
points. Nice.
I bought him thick entry. S&P. Like there was one lot. Like I got a break above 20. Yeah, I don't know. Like was enough for me to hold.
Very well done. Nas, like, we did spike above this 170-ish area. I like it for the continuation. I have a stern reaction against very close to this 27. Excuse me. I got up to get something, but now I forget what. I think there's still more in this. My brain, I left that back a while ago. Threw it out. Remember that post that I sent in the chat yesterday? To make it in trading, you either need a sub 70 IQ or above 130. Guess which one I am. I've never seen a mere average person succeed. You have to be super smart or super stupid. That's the key. This is like a very similar case to yesterday's movement where we've started to accept above these like minor distributions. We've held the low of the distribution. We've accepted above the minor area. We're holding it structural support. We're trying to accept above the next level 27 on the ES from this profile here. So you're fading against the current individual trend. Drink and trade. No, drinking after trading. I still like this Nas long. Or are the Fediots talking? What Fed speakers are on today? I might have missed that. If anyone has it handy. Bowman at 12, 15, Barkin. I feel like Barkin's already talking or has gotten it done. That too, you guys put it up in Discord. Yeah, 27, let's go. I can move this up a little at least. And these are great areas if you have multiples, take profit. I wish I had filled those extra two on that ES. NASDAQ trading at 210 right now. It's like 100 point move on Nas. $28 traded on the ES. Honestly, I might just put this under this prior low area here. I don't know, like, giving up about 10 points on this move is okay. Giving up like 15, then I get a little stupider there. What did I say pre-market? You're gonna wish you bought that pre-market move.
Give opportunity after the open to
Yeah, it did.
James instead the 8 choice. So,
But it was lower pre-market.
yeah, it was.
At this point, like if you're looking for the longs, you trade like 32, 35 area, and then you're expecting to hold these mid 20s. Nasdaq 220. There's one of the main targets, and then 275 is the next one. S&P up 30 points right now from that area, but from the 08, 09, you're up 20. Like, psh. Psh. Might even get even tighter on this trailer. $225 Nasdaq, fairly large seller came in there. $30 trades. Am I a little salty that I didn't add into that 08? Like, not really, but a little. Yeah, with the 08 post open, 08, 09, like that I was just saying, get long it just, I'm leading on the level, right? It happened very quick, but they got kind of trapped on that short into that low, and there was a decent bid on it, so that was my only thought process around that whole scenario. Like the fact that it came into it twice. $31 trades. Wow. Nas up 100 points. It's $2,000 a contract. Yeah, 8-1 stop on Nas, big deal. still, I want some of this upside to continue. Like as this does nothing, um, I'll take you through a bit of my thought process on how things are kind of shaping up in these markets, right? Because realistically, we have had a very long-winded move to the upside without so much as like a minor pullback. Like with the S&P right now and the futures, I'm just like sidelined. I'm well, not sidelined. I'm in positions, but I'm just like waiting. Whatever happens, happens here. If there's opportunity, I think it's either going to be lower or higher, not at these areas. So that's why I'm kind of going through this. But if we look at um, what's generally going on with these markets, right? I've got this set up here. I think that we're in a positioning to see some kind of pullback, right? I've ghost feeded a few different scenarios here. My original scenario was something like the green one where we rally into the beginning of the year, then we start turning over for a larger dip. I honestly don't like. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think that's the wishful thinking at this point. But the overlay here is what I've seen very popular recently amongst a lot of peers and analysts is the 1995 correlation in relation to this market, which puts us somewhere above 600 on this SPY by the end of the year. I think that the yellow, which encompasses kind of both of these, has a higher probability of playing out. And if this is indeed the move, with the expectation that we've topped out after Q1 temporarily before we get a snap bid again, I think that reasonable areas to start seeing this market pull back are starting to be at that 500 with a bottom band expectation around 480, right? I think 500 to 480 in that block is kind of where I'm looking at this for the next few weeks. That doesn't make me like a massive bear. That doesn't make me look at this like, oh, doom and gloom. I think that this is a reasonable pullback to see markets get rebid realistically into a massive ending of the second quarter, a good start to the third quarter, and a continuation. Generally speaking, we'll have like 1, 2, 5% pullbacks, and I think that this is shaping up to be something like that, which is what I'm looking for in terms of opportunities to see some long side, right? And with that, just generally speaking, names like VOO, which is a low expense fee of the SPY, I just constantly add. But when we have larger pullbacks in this, right, I'll just add more. So that's one of the ways to look at this on the swing perspective. I'm going to be looking at options, sure, but I'm also mainly going to be looking at what is it called? Leverage, right? Leverage SPXL, triple leverage SPY, QLD, triple leverage NASDAQ, which again, higher leverage equities can be very detrimental, but if I have a bias and a stop, right, of the understanding that I'm going to see some kind of continuation of the bull side, I'm going to be watching SPXL around like 120-ish, 110 to see if I can pick those things up. The drops are more aggressive than you see on other equities. And then when it comes to like SMH, which is one of the things as well that I'm looking at, the semiconductor ETF, you have things like Nvidia that are in that make a bulk of that. Nvidia, I think, has temporarily topped out until we see regions lower. Same with SMH, as long as we hold under this distribution at 230. Expectations of 205, 210-ish to see this thing. It's a very good correlation to watch with the overall market in itself, the S&P, to kind of give you a guideline as to what the strength of this move might look like. Not only that, but when it comes to long-term opportunities, right, and you like individual stocks, for example, like Apple and whatnot, like blah, 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 when I look at those, I look for extreme oversold territory, even if we're in a bull move, right? I like names based on distribution bottoms. I like names on overextended standard deviations to the downside, like a very elementary Z-score. So those are things I'm looking to add into. For example, like I added some AMD, right, shares, some Apple shares, obviously, and I'm just kind of adding continuously into VOO and ETFs, right, funneling some of that money in just passively. and waiting to see what key extreme pull downs would look like in other assets that I'm interested in. Like, for example, let's say I'm interested in Novo Nordisk, right? And you can see the standard deviation is like -1 to the peak to the downside, and we've barely pulled off. If I'm interested in ABBV, right, AbbVie, look at this -3 standard deviation from yesterday's drop. So for me, I add like some shares into that, right, as an example. So I got taken out on that last runner on that S&P as I was blabbing here. I don't know if you how useful you found that information, but I'm looking for those opportunities in these markets for this next dip to see how these guys shape up on a swing perspective, and generally just adding into it on the longer term, right? Do I necessarily think there's going to be a massive recession that tears everything apart this year? I don't think so. Um, as I'm looking at this equity market right now, both on the S&P and the Nasdaq failed at that 220. Not that surprising. Remember, we talked about an offer that came in at 225, right? Fairly big offer at that 225, 200 go on the offer, so not that big of a shock. But the S&P here, we kind of just peak above this 27. Right now, like, this is a shallow pullback, honestly, like into this like 22, 21. It's okay risk, size down if you're trying to buy into this, right? Like I might do something like this, just like one individual lot. Maybe I can, maybe I'll wait to see if it pulls down to 22 because I obviously missed that. But I still like longs. I still like longs, Nasdaq, S&P. Nasdaq, I'd like to see it above that 220, 230, hold a bid, rebid above that. I think as long as you continue looking for these longs, you'll probably be rewarded rather than constantly trying to short this thing as it rises up. The short for me is a move down into like 14, 12, right? And then re-offer back into this mid to high 20. Let me see one thing here. I was gonna look at. What the hell? Still, Nas fighting with this 230 area, 220. S&P as well, kind of failed high here. This is a stern reoffer. It's a fat sell right now. Let's see. I don't like how they sold that off, but I'm still not.
Not very excited to jump back on the long. It seems like Scylla has more, considering the speed and what she came down.
I was about to say I'm not like super bearish on this, but yeah, like at that point we're kind of building up the scenario where we reoffer and then see if they hold that lower 20. I'll look for a trade. Offer is a bit thick right now. Kind of selling into this without too much of a push, getting a little trapped.
I'll try it here, 19.5, just smaller.
Just as I was looking to click myself. I was looking through the same thing. Just be careful. If we fail to make a new high here again, we reoffer into 26, 27. Could be trouble. But damn, we waited a little long for that.
That's my first take profit. I'm gonna take those orders off. Girl, hell buyers. I hope we get stuck.
500 selling into 23. Sellers are starting to take a little control. I'm gonna just short this a little. If I get filled. I think that these, like the reoffer is solid. I don't mind risking some to see this through. Like 400 or 500 sellers tapped into that like 23. Woo. I might be wrong on this sell. Which is great for the buy. Okay, I got taken out of that. And that shows me up for trying to sell this shit. Alright, if they're gonna run this, then let this run. I'll be a buyer back into this mid 20 if we pop a little higher and actually hold it. Yeah, it's a little more jumpy than usual. I think there's still some more momentum on the buy after that failed offer. I don't regret trying it. I like them to print a little higher, have a high on this, on the bull side. And then for me, into I guess like the value area high, you also have the clustering of some decent imbalances that sit into this like mid 20 looks fairly interesting. Well, ideally we hold out that 26, honestly. Did you pick up the long?
No, Vic.
Shit.
I did not. Just watching this now.
Still long some Nas. Ugh, I kind of.
I want to short it. Obviously, Vic until like
Man,
32.
I wanna buy this. I wanna buy it. I want to buy. Like the reactions, the bids that are coming in are much heavier. I got an area like 23 to 26. I kind of want to see how that holds out here. See if I can catch a bid on this ES. It was my stupidity not just buying into that 18 like I had originally planned. Waiting for this to pull back a little and see if the bid steps in. I'll just bid into this and I'll leave it for the rest of the day. Buyer's still showing up. People just leaving. No one asked for early exit pool, nothing. Need to bask in the glory. And the only reason for people to be down today is if you're just selling, as this thing's rallying very different from yesterday's action. Enjoy, Kenneth. Whoa, both vodka and rum? I don't want to wake up tomorrow. Yeah, friends coming. I use that excuse too, don't worry. Yeah, I have company tonight. Me, myself, and I. Yeah, you get a day like yesterday, it dumps like 100 points, everyone's just trying to short into this, and then bear trap, surprise. That's what I'm here for, trying to alleviate that pain of constantly getting late on these moves. I'm gonna start into this 24, 25-ish, I'll add a bit lower. I'll try and scatter these, honestly. If they dump it, I'll buy some more lower. I don't know exactly where this is going to be. This is why I'm doing this. If I get filled on one, whatever. I think this is like maybe a lower quality trade out of the ones that we've seen today.
It's not lower quality, it's just like a little later on the move. Like we opened around 208, we rally into like 31. You know, you're buying a pullback into mid 20. There, you need a lot of buy pressure to come in and push through the 30. Because like once you get past the 30, like below 30, your next target up is like pretty much the mid 40, 45 to 48. So
Yeah,
a lot of buying.
I'm just like,
I tried that short, like is this filled one? I was waiting at 31. Drag the orders down, filled one lot. And it's like, I don't know, like if it looks too bullish at some moment, I'll flatten it. See if I can be long. Right now, if you take a look at NASDAQ, like eat pop, like gets sold, you have a lot of negative delta, positive delta accumulating 25 to 25.5. It keeps getting re-offered. And if you pop above that, I think like Nasdaq is gonna like continue to the upside and more likely spoos as well.
yeah, that's the main.
Do you get long?
Yeah, that's the main thing on this move. I'm just like, I like it. I'm just not like that confident in the area, and like, I'm just gonna keep the 3-point stop, obviously. Boom, boom, boom. Nasdaq is sucking a little. this. I think I'm just gonna call it a day, honestly. Rather than churning and burning through these profits. Like, I think like 23 to 25 is solid, but like, shit, that area, it's a big region. And like, I'm going in with like pretty small size here trying to find it, so. You should have seen NQ yesterday if you think NQ's wild today. Yeah, they got stuck at that 27 area again. Jesus fucking re-offer. This is the annoying part. I think like there's still an area around this like 23, 25 area, but it's just too freaking wide. Like 23 offering. Wait for this bid and then I'll look to. If you can bid back above this 23, then I think there's the opportunity there. I got taken out on that. I just took 2 trades in the last like 10 minutes or so. I got taken out on these. I don't. I think I might just walk away on this. I don't want to keep burning through this. Burn through $600 of profit in like 10 minutes.
It happens, bro.
Yeah.
Great longs, you know, ran Nasdaq like the champ. That's I think like you're right on the short. There's just like a little early.
Yeah, and like these guys are offering now. Like, I thought we'd get a cleaner move to the upside with all this bidding that was transpiring in the first like 20 minutes. And these guys like come in with this heavy offer, so.
That's it. Flat. I got one lot. Like 28 going to 18. Not bad. Did you guys hear that news of earthquake in New York City?
No way.
Told us before it flashed on the news.
I didn't hear. Like a big one?
I wouldn't think so.
Jeez. Fuck. Am I gonna get long this again? I don't even think it'll fill. I'm doing one more and that's it. One more long.
The specific circle, it's the EMSC magnitude 5.5 earthquake that struck the Greater New York area and the New Jersey region. 5.5, that's pretty good size.
That's pretty big, eh?
Yeah.
Shit, should I be.
Picture frame fall off and clean up glass.
I was about to say, should I be getting long with this coming out? these guys are kind of flipping a little here. It got a little choppy after that like first 30-ish minute stretch. I like how like you get 22, 23 large imbalanced sellers. They're kind of pushing this away.
Either hold this rotation here, 18, 19, and continue the upside, or we're probably gonna head fake over into 12.
Yeah, which is gonna be a bitch.
Yeah, pain. But I'm trying along with you, Vic.
Habibi.
Habibs. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, my two minis, your two minis. We got this shit going. They keep struggling around this like 22, 23. That's not a very good sign where they kind of held the fatter reoffer. We need to call Jimmy. It's time for backup.
He's on lunch. It's 10:30.
Fuck. I knew I can't count on Jimmy for shit.
You knew that already.
I know. I just tell myself sometimes that I could believe in people.
It's cool.
There we go. Alright, out 1 plus 7. No matter what happens here, we good. It just took 2 stupid trades to find it. I just blow this out. What am I waiting for? It could keep going. Like it took 8 and a bit on that last one.
Also citing that the Justice Department can't reopen the realtor's case according to Hills Courts. Saying the Justice Department can't reopen the realtor's case according to Hills Courts.
Just into 26, 27. It could keep going, but I think I might just be done with this. Because I shorted I took like a 6 and a 6, 12. And just took a 15, so made up for it plus a bit. But I don't know, if you're still long and you're just trying to trail it, I think you got a good handle on this where you could see a bit more as long as your stops are under like 22. If you got questions, I'm trading the minis on this screen. Just looking at some of these YouTube comments. What tool do I find to be most useful for your trading? Footprints, DOM, VP. Volume profiles and DOM are the two like centric forces that I use, the main two. Right in the middle of the distribution seems a bit iffy. Yeah, I'm just playing on the order flow into this like 17 area from pre-market as well as on this session today. It was kind of imbalanced there. Like Nvidia's kind of selling a bit here. Microsoft is doing okay. I still want to see if this NAS can just like pump above this 230 area. We're getting kind of a weird range on the S&P. I was a little off. I thought we could hold a higher low into that like lower 20 and then continue this leg up, but that was incorrect thinking. If we fail here into this like low 30 again, just sell everything. There were two pointless trades that I took most recently. That's kind of annoying. But I feel like I was taking them because I had some profits from before, just a little loose. But I consider getting long 06. It's 20 points away. If we knife down there, like they would do well to hold it. You see they're offering into this high 20 like they kind of did. 27 gets trapped into that high. Not that I'm trying to flip this whole parade on the bear, but I'm getting a little more weary. Before I was a little more blind on the bull, so I just fucking buy everything. Now these like failed moves higher, slightly lower lows, re-offers coming into 26, 27. I'm getting a little more nervous for these longs. Let's see. If you have any questions about this, my next trade idea, honestly, I want to see if they fail to make a new high here. It's good that there was no damage from this earthquake. I didn't hear that news at all. Not that I'm anywhere close to New York, but... If that news didn't come out, I think that long would have worked, that first one. That like low 20. If you're still long the that like 17, 18 area, you're doing fairly good. I just flattened it, honestly. I don't know how much more brain capacity I have to hold these things, even though I said I'm gonna buy it and just hold it until the end of the day. If we fail here and we re-offer again, that probably taps the high of day and we can just start selling from there, but again, it's very situational. reactionary reoffer, weaker volume. Let me see here. I think this might be it. I think it's it. If you reoffer into like 27, 28 here, right? If you might have missed that more aggressive one, I think they're fooked. Ideally, you'd be looking to place some stops above the prior highs. Like if you have stops above 32 on the ES and then above like 250 on the NQ, this seems like a solid idea. I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm not doing it. I think I'm just mentally shittered. I think this prints the top here. I might do it on just like small size on some like micros or some shit. Because I don't want to play with these minis right now.
Yeah, if you're trying to short like here, you better have like some profits on the day. It's tough to fade your first trade. Or downsize if you're trading like twos, trade like one.
Where's real seller? Seller came in last time at like 30. Honestly, a little surprised to see that this offer is just nowhere to be seen. They should reoffer this 30 area, 29. very short this?
Yeah, Bitcoin short too, bro.
Alright. Call Jimmy. There's some work to be done right now. Re-offer this into 20, brother.
You guys are tight. Day so far, man. Like, got like a nice long the Nasdaq, long the E on S&P, Friday 18 as well. I wanna risk it to see if like we find the top here. I do have a problem though with catching big moves. I don't stay long enough. That's a problem. Like Nasdaq, like I took profit too early. This short isn't.
Oof.
The bid isn't there. The offer's there.
This is kind of getting to be a weird day. I thought we'd get more fluidity to the upside. I guess reasonably so. I'll be looking to trade that like 38 area. Yesterday, into that. Oh shit! What happened? Yesterday into that 40. Right, huge positive delta. Big buyer steps in. I hate how these guys. If this is a head fake and they start pulling low right now, it's gonna be super annoying.
Are you out? Are you out of the short?
No, I just threw on the shitload of micros, seeing if we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have a wider still.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm into. It's just I didn't like the pop, but like it dropped.
The way I view limit orders for those asking is they're more of a passive market participant realistically. It doesn't necessarily hold that much interest or value as a market order that comes in that creates imbalances. Like these guys are. Ripping. I think that what happened with this, like with that news from the earthquake, it pulled it down a little more aggressively. I feel like in this scenario, like this area would have held out without that news, and we just got that continuation. Still more bullish. Still appetite on the bull side. I should have just held that one freaking lot long. trade at 37. Jeez. I think I got a little confused by that move down based on that New York news. Just let this thing continue ripping.
Did you put the early ball up?
Yeah.
You want to host books here?
Yeah, sure. I feel like if you're not still holding that long into that like 17 area that we were along 17, 18, like be very cautious going forward. Which is kind of what I'm doing, stepping away from this.
Next up, the top of the hour, do have Feds and Logan, who's not a voter until 2026. It is typically a more hawkish end FOMC. She'll be speaking at Duke University.
Holy shit, Lewis. 40 trades.
Early March, but focused on the balance sheets.
This was my dream to see 40. Still long Nasdaq, which is kind of helping. I'm gonna wrap it up here with YouTube as we get this going. Thanks for joining us. We'll do this on Friday again with TPA. We'll wrap up here with our trade.